Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. If you like the video today, please come in and share. We'll surely appreciate here at 100 Yards of Football. I'd like to give special thanks to my producer, the very talented Logan Landers, for making it happen for me today. If you like the video, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. Well, it's always a very good day when you be able to talk about individuals that changed the game of football. And this gentleman right here, Mr. Archie Cooley, is one of my heroes. Everyone knows him from Memphis, Tennessee, and basically here on the show I talk in a very proud way of being from that great city who's having a lot of problems right now, but that's all right. But back in the day, growing up in the 70s and 80s, I really got introduced to the Southwest, not the Southwest Conference, but the SWAC. And I was able to see a lot of teams such as Tennessee State, Alcorn State, Mississippi Valley, and of course, Arkansas Pine Bluff play football at another level. But when I talk about this gentleman right here, this gentleman is a guy that doesn't get mentioned when we talk about great college football coaches of all time. I know a lot of people want to talk about Nick Saban. I know a lot of people want to talk about Bear Bryant. I know a lot of people want to talk about Eddie Robinson. I know a lot of people want to talk about John McKay. A lot of people want to talk about Woody Hayes. A lot of people want to talk about Barry Switzer. But it's really unusual that this young man right here has never talked about being an innovator of offense on the college football level. When you talk about the definition of genius is extraordinary intelligence, creative power. And Mr. Archie Cooley did something from 1980 to 1986 as a head coach at Mississippi Valley State to a point that a coach from the San Francisco 49ers drafted one of his players. And he picked the mind of Archie Cooley about running a wide open offense. See, when we look at Archie Cooley, we don't really put him in the mindset of a Mouse Davis or the greatest show on turf when we talk about the Los Angeles Rams, or we talk about another gentleman, the run and shoot down there in Houston, Texas, when the Houston Cougars ran it with Andre Ware and David Klingler, or the BYU passing game under Lavelle Edwards. All those gentlemen, and even Bill Walsh, they get their flowers. And even Bear Bryant coaching at Alabama at his highest level. I get that. He won all the national championships at the University of Alabama and Nick Saban. But nobody talk about what this gentleman did at his time at Mississippi Valley State in the SWAC. Down there in Ena Bena, Mississippi, which is only about 3,000 people in the whole town, and the whole town probably was the college. And nobody talk about this young man coming out of the great state of Mississippi that's got so many great people. And as I always say here on 100 Yards of Football, it's something in the water. It's not the state of Texas. It's not the state of Florida. It's not the state of California. But the people they have produced is similar to Archie Cooley, James Earl Jones, Morgan Freeman, Dana Andrews, Tavis Smiley, Robin Roberts, Spencer Haywood, Lance Alworth, Mo Williams, Walter Payton, Jerry Rice, Brett Favre, Archie Manning, Lem Barney, Jackie Slater, Ralph Boston, Elvis Presley, DK Metcalf, and Nolan Smith. I can go on and on. And this gentleman right here represents all the pride of the state of Mississippi, including my parents, who still live in Inez and Chester Turner, whose birthday is coming up in this month. My father be 87 and my mother be 85. People from Mississippi, they have another drive in them. They have another goal. It's a flat, dirty state, but it's something in that blood. And Archie Cooley done it at a college level that people don't even talk about. He was a guy that became head coach in Mississippi Valley, and he was a defensive guy. He played linebacker at Jackson State from 1959 to 1962 under John Murphy. Then he went up there and he changed his whole ability, got into coaching, and then he went to the offensive side of the ball. Now, he played defense and was part of defense his whole career. But then he had that magical season in 1984, running an offense, a 5 wide receiver set in Mississippi Valley, in the SWAT. A team that year that averaged 59 points a game, averaged 628 yards of total offense. The greatest receiver that's played this game on any level, Jerry Rice, that season had 1,845 yards and 112 receptions and 27 touchdowns. The quarterback, Willie Totten, who I feel tremendously sorry for. Because if Willie Totten was playing in this era, he would be playing in some Super Bowls. We know what happened back then. The times were different. But when you look at the NFL game, it's really progress for African-American quarterbacks. It's no question about it. Willie Totten would have been in this conversation today. He would have been in this conversation. And I'm going to give him his flowers. That season, Mr. Totten, 4,500 yards and 56 touchdowns. And that all came from a gentleman on that screen right there, Archie Cooley, who had enough innovation, had that creative power to put that together. And one game that year against Prairie View, the Mississippi Valley State offense, Willie Totten threw for 599 yards. And then people want to probably come back to me and say, why is this guy going crazy stating this guy should be compared to all those likes of a Nick Saban or a Kyle Shanahan or a Lincoln Riley or a Bill Walsh? Guys are offensive geniuses. Then they're going to say, hey, Mississippi Valley State, who was playing as far as competition? Well, they had some guys in 1984 that went into the National Football League and made a career. Jackson State had Sylvester Stamps, Thomas Strada, Jackie Walker, Steve Martin. Southern University had Anthony Tuggle, Troy Johnson, Kevin McGee. Grambling had Kerry Parker, Anthony Anderson. Prairie View had Stacy Robertson. Alcorn State had Isaac Hope and Otis Wansley. You want to know what's familiar with them? Super Bowl champions. Isaac Hope with the Dallas Cowboys. Otis Wansley with the Washington Redskins. Alabama State, Carl Poe, Terry Greer. So there was some NFL talent at that time in the SWAC. So don't take that away from what Mr. Cooley did. But the thing that's so amazing, even in Black History Month, don't nobody mention Archie Cooley. No talk shows, no podcasts, not even the HBCUs even mention him. I see them down there covering the Senior Bowl. I see them covering the Celebration Bowl. They should even bring him back, which is supposed to be the Black National Championship game. They should even bring Archie Cooley back and introduce him in the middle of the field. But nobody mentioned this guy. And today, here on 100 Yards of Football, Vincent Turner is going to give Archie Cooley his flowers. Much respect. The greatest offensive mind that's ever stepped on the field in football, and he was a defensive guy. And to make my point even more evident, how do a guy takes a school, Mississippi Valley State, in Enna Bena, Mississippi, a town of 3,000 people, even now of today, with not even the facilities close to an Alabama, a USC, or Georgia and Oklahoma, and produce the greatest football player pound for pound who played in the National Football League in Jerry Rice. A man, a Jerry Rice statue, who finished the National Football League in his career, 1,549 receptions, 22,895 yards, 76 100-yard receiving games. Career touchdowns, 197 receiving, 208 total. Yards in the playoffs, 2,245 yards, 22 career touchdowns in the playoffs, and a career all-purpose yardage of 22,895 yards. It was once NFL Player of the Year and a Hall of Famer. And this gentleman right here was behind that, Archie the gunslinger Cooley. But we could talk about Lincoln Riley, and no disrespect. We could talk about Lavelle Edwards at BYU. We could talk about Miles Davis when he was at Portland State. We could talk about June Jones when he's Hawaii. We could talk about Jack Pardee when he's University of Houston running the run and shoot. But nobody gives flowers to Archie Cooley. And he produced pound for pound the greatest football player that played in the National Football League. And maybe the greatest ever in Jerry Rice, who played the wide receiver position and had to have the ball thrown to him. And this young man right here, the great Archie Cooley, had enough innovation to run a 5 wide receiver set in 1984. At 22 years old, on November the 13th, 1982 in Liberty Bowl Memorial Stadium, I saw this gentleman coached. I was there to see Jerry Rice, who was a sophomore at the time, play wide receiver against Tennessee State. And one point that stuck out in my mind was, is I'm seeing something that's unoriginal? Because back then in 1982, football on any level was about smash, run the football. It wasn't even about throwing it all over the place. But a guy who supposed to have been the greatest offensive genius run the West Coast offense called Mr. Archie Cooley up inquiring about Jerry Rice. But really, on the back channels, the conversations that's not discussed, he was really picking Mr. Archie Cooley's mind on how you run this offense. And you saw the rest is history. And it burns me up. It upsets me that he doesn't get his love. Not even from his own people, such as the HBCU Sports Network. Not even from schools like Grambling, Southern, Alcorn State. And this young man was born in the state of Mississippi. Nobody mentions Archie Cooley at all. And he produced the greatest football player to play the game in the National Football League. A 3-time Super Bowl champion, Jerry Rice, from a little small town in Mississippi, Summerall, right outside Hattiesburg. Mr. Cooley, I hope that you come across this video and you enjoy it. One of my dreams before I leave this earth, I hope one day, and I'm going to make it my point this summer, to find out where you're living, and I hope to meet you one day face to face. Because you ain't changed this game of football, man. Look at the two teams that's playing in Super Bowl 58 this year. Patrick Mahomes, he's a gunslinger out of Texas Tech, guns up. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. Iowa State slings that rock. Lamar Jackson slings that rock. Josh Allen slings that rock. Russell Wilson used to sling that rock. Baker Mayfield slings that rock. Jared Goff slings that rock. John Elway slings that rock. Tom Brady did it, getting several Super Bowl championships. But where did all that come from? Where did all that offensive innovation come from? Where did all that creative power come from? It started down now with this young man right here, Mr. Archie Cooley, the gunslinger, Mississippi Valley State. So all you people that's members of the SWAC, and you're trying to get your numbers up on podcasts, and you was over there following Deion when he was at Jackson State, and granted, Mr. Deion Sanders did a lot for the SWAC, but not one time when Deion Sanders was at the SWAC, or even now at the Celebration Bowl, and all the festivities, because the game is played here locally in Atlanta, and I live in Douglasville, Georgia, which is 30 miles west, I never hear the name of Archie Cooley. How is that? And he produced the greatest football player that played in the National Football League, pound for pound. As I get a moment of silence, how is that? Why is that? I don't have nothing to lose, but I'm going to talk about Archie Cooley. Because to me, he's the greatest offensive mind that's ever coached the game at any level. And I take him right now over anybody who's considered a highly, highly intelligent offensive geniuses coach this game. If you like the video today, please comment and share it. It's been an honor, a pleasure to do this video on Mr. Archie Cooley, head coach of Mississippi Valley State, the nickname of his, the gunslinger. To my producer, Mr. Logan Landers, for making it happen today. I've been very blessed to be able to do this video and live 63 years old to talk about this young man at another level. So when we mention Nick Saban, we mention Bear Bryant, we mention Bill Walsh, we mention John McKay, we mention Bob Stoops, we mention Les Miles, Eddie Robertson, Jay Gaithers. We need to be putting Archie Cooley Jr. in that same breath of conversation. We really do. Y'all be blessed here on 100 Yards Football. It's been a pleasure today coming into y'all living room. And thanks again to my producer. Man. He's been at another level today. I'm so proud of him. Out of Alexander High School, Douglasville, Georgia, West Georgia's finest, Mr. Logan Landers, thank you today. Y'all be blessed here on 100 Yards of Football.